Welcome to Rave and Rant, where we praise the praiseworthy and roast the rest. Each episode, we dive into reviews and tips on businesses, health, products, and services that matter to you. Now, let's meet our dynamic hosts. Julian, a seasoned entrepreneur and tech enthusiast who keeps you ahead of the curve. And Olivia, our health and wellness expert with unfiltered takes on the latest trends. Together, they'll help you navigate what's worth your time and what's not. So sit back, relax, and get ready for an episode packed with honest opinions and valuable insights. This is Rave and Rant.
So think about that scrubby thing you use pretty much every day. You know, in the shower, maybe next to your kitchen sink. For most of us, it's just a piece of plastic mesh.
A synthetic sponge. Yeah. But today, we are going deep on the natural fibrous scrubber, the Loofah. And here's the first surprise that trips up almost everyone. That thing. It doesn't come from the sea.
No.
It comes from a giant, vigorous tropical vine. Specifically, Loofah aegyptiaca, the smooth loofah.
And we took a whole stack of growing guides and notes, and we've basically distilled the absolute most critical steps for you. Our mission for you, the listener, is really simple. It's to give you the shortcut to that intensely satisfying moment. The sources just rave about it.
Oh, they do?
Peeling back that brittle, papery skin on the gourd to reveal that perfect, clean, fibrous network underneath.
That moment is the big reward, but we have to start with a serious reality check here. This is not a casual garden project.
Right.
Loofah is a profound commitment. To get a useful, fully dried sponge, you need a massive growing window. We're talking 150 to 200 frost-free days.
150. Wow. So let's just lay out the parameters up front. This vine is, well, it's demanding.
It really is.
It requires full sun, and that means 6 to 8, maybe more hours every day.
Minimum.
It needs specialized infrastructure, a 10 to 15-foot sturdy vertical trellis. The difficulty is moderate, but the sustainability payoff is huge. A potential yield of 10 to 25 gourds per plant.
Per plant. And here's a fantastic bonus nugget from the sources. If that massive season of yours gets cut short by an early frost,
which can happen.
It can. Those young gourds, when you harvest them at around 4 to 6 inches, are completely edible.
Really? What do they taste like?
They're mild. Somewhere between a zucchini and a cucumber. They're actually a very popular vegetable in a lot of Asian cuisines.
That is the perfect insurance policy for a long season crop.
It really is. And just to be clear, for this dive, we're focusing on Loofah aegyptiaca. Its smooth, cylindrical fruit is ideal for making sponges. The other species, Loofah acutangula, it has these big ridges, and it's almost always grown just for eating. We're after scrubbers here, not dinner.
Okay, so let's unpack that 150-day commitment. The very first step, before you even buy the seeds, is just being honest with yourself about your climate.
Exactly.
Can you actually give this tropical plant what it needs?
That's the question. It needs that long, unbroken warmth. It's kind of like a very large butternut squash, but even more reliant on sustained heat. And your strategy for success is completely dictated by your geographic zone. We've sort of consolidated the approaches into 4 main buckets.
Okay, so if you're lucky enough to be in zones 9 or 10...
Congratulations.
It's easy. You just direct sow after the last frost, and you should be harvesting brown gourds by the fall.
Zone 8 is still very good. You just have to start indoors, maybe about 4 weeks early.
But zone 7, that's where the planting gets critical.
It does. You have to start seeds 6 weeks early. You need to find faster maturing varieties and be ready to use some aggressive season extension tools.
And then there's zone 6. The sources basically call this challenging territory.
Yeah, that's fair.
If you live there, you have to use every trick in the book. Starting seeds 6 to 8 weeks early, warming the soil with black plastic mulch, planting against a south-facing wall. And they also mention something called wallow waters. Wait, for anyone who hasn't used one, what is that exactly?
It sounds super complicated, but it's not. It's essentially a specialized plastic cone, like a teepee, that you fill with water and put around the young seedling.
I see.
During the day, that water absorbs solar energy, and then at night, it radiates that heat back out. It gives your tender little plants about 4 to 8 extra degrees of protection. It buys you time.
And time is definitely what you need. So the crucial reality check for anyone listening outside these zones, if your frost-free season is under 120 days, the sources are pretty firm. Usable dried sponges are highly unlikely.
Yeah. Your best bet there is to focus on growing them in big containers you can move, or just plan on eating them as immature vegetables.
Okay, so beyond time, you need the right setup, the infrastructure.
Right. First, non-negotiable, full sun, 6 hours minimum, 8 or more is best. Partial shade will just give you weak vines and very few female flowers.
Second, that sturdy vertical support. Those vines can ramble 15, even 30 feet.
They get huge.
You need 10 to 15 feet of a robust trellis, a fence, maybe a strong pergola. And trust me, don't underestimate the weight.
Oh, absolutely not.
When those gourds are full of water, they are heavy. If you use cheap plastic netting, you'll find the whole thing on the ground in August.
And finally, soil. Loofah are absolute nutrient hogs.
Heavy feeders.
Extremely heavy feeders. Before you plant, you have to work in 3 to 4 inches of high-quality compost. Rich, well-draining soil. Otherwise, they'll just starve.
That really sets up the battlefield. So now let's talk about the seed. This is where the sources claim most first-time growers just panic and fail.
Yeah, the germination.
Getting that seed to sprout.
And that failure is actually a biological adaptation. Loofah seeds, they evolved with this notoriously hard outer coating.
Like armor.
It is like armor. It keeps them dormant until conditions are absolutely perfect. So you have to intervene to wake them up.
So we have 2 proven techniques to break through that armor. The simplest one is just soaking them.
Right.
Soaking them in warm water for 24 to 48 hours until they visibly swell up. You should probably change the water halfway through.
But if you want reliability, and especially if you're pushing the season in a cooler climate, scarification is the way to go.
Scarification.
You're physically removing a piece of that armor. You can use sandpaper, a nail file, even tiny clippers to carefully nick or sand through the outer coat on the rounded end of the seed.
And once you expose that lighter inner layer, you still have to soak it, right?
Oh, absolutely. The scarification creates the door, and the soak makes sure the water gets in. Once they're ready, timing is key. Start them indoors 4 to 8 weeks before your last frost.
And this is important.
Yes. Do not start them too early. These seedlings grow so fast, and loofah, well, it hates having its roots disturbed. You want them ready to transplant, not root-bound and stressed out.
To manage that root issue, the sources say plant them in individual 3 or 4 inch pots from the get-go, about 1 inch deep in a light seed starting mix.
And here it is. The single most critical factor for success with germination.
Heat.
Bottom heat.
Bottom heat. These are tropical seeds. They will sulk if they're cold. The soil temperature has to be consistently between 70 and 85 degrees Fahrenheit. Without a dedicated heat mat, reliable germination in that 7 to 14-day window is almost impossible.
Okay, you battled the armor, you've provided the heat, the seedlings are up, you've navigated the trickiest phase. Now comes the transition outside and the ongoing care.
And that transition is the next major hurdle because, again, loofah is incredibly cold sensitive. You have to be patient. Wait until the nighttime temperatures are consistently above 55 degrees.
Ideally 60.
Ideally 60, yeah. And the soil itself is at least 65 degrees. If you rush, you'll stunt them, and they might never recover that momentum.
And before they even leave the house, we have to talk about hardening off. It sounds technical, but it's really not. No, it's just getting your pampered indoor plants used to the real world. The sun, the wind, all of it.
A bit of a shock to the system.
It is. It's a 7 to 10 day process. You start with just an hour or 2 outside in the shade, and then gradually, day by day, you increase the time and the direct sun exposure. If you skip this, you get sun scald, wind damage. It can set your plant back weeks.
Okay, once they're planted, the routine is pretty clear. They need consistent moisture. You're aiming for 1 to 2 inches of water a week, especially when they start to flower.
But, and this is a key detail, you reduce that watering late in the season. When the gourds start to turn brown and dry on the vine, you want them to dry out naturally.
You mentioned they were heavy feeders.
Start with a balanced fertilizer, like a 10-10-10. But here's the strategic shift.
Right.
Once the flowering begins, you switch to a fertilizer that's lower in nitrogen.
Like a 5-10-10.
Exactly. Nitrogen just encourages lush leaves and vine growth. Low nitrogen fertilizer pushes the plant to produce fruit.
And you want sponges, not just a shady vine.
You want sponges. And then you stop feeding completely about 6 weeks before your expected first frost.
Now for the classic aha moment, the thing that saves new growers from total panic. The pollination puzzle.
Yes.
You've done everything right. The vine is massive. It's covered in these beautiful yellow flowers. But there's no fruit. What is going on?
The plant is doing its job.
Yeah.
You just need to understand its biology. Loofah produces separate male and female flowers.
Okay.
The male flowers appear first, often weeks ahead of the females. They're usually in a cluster on a thin stem. They produce pollen, they drop off, and they never ever become a sponge. That's normal.
So how do you spot the real flowers, the ones that count?
The female flowers are the VIPs. They're easy to spot because they have a tiny unpollinated miniature loofah shape, that's the ovary, right at their base.
Oh, I see.
If a female flower isn't pollinated, that tiny gourd shape will just turn yellow and fall off, and that is your signal to intervene.
And if you see that happening, you need to hand pollinate?
You do. Early morning is always best when the pollen is fresh. You just pick a male flower, peel back the petals, and gently brush the pollen right onto the sticky central part, the stigma of an open female flower.
That one small act can be the difference between 0 sponges and 20 sponges.
It absolutely can. And really quickly, if you see white powdery spots on the leaves late in the season, that's likely powdery mildew.
Common problem.
Very common. Just improve air circulation. Your trellis helps with that. And try a spray of diluted milk, about 40% milk to 60% water. And of course, watch for pests like cucumber beetles.
All right, we've made it 150 days. Patience has been the hardest part, but harvest timing is absolutely everything. Harvest too early, and you just get mushy fibers. How do we know when it's time?
You are waiting for that loofah to dry on the vine itself. This is the whole transformation. You're looking for 4 key signs. 1, the skin changes dramatically. It goes from green or yellow all the way to a dry, papery brown.
Okay.
2, the weight drops. It should feel surprisingly light and hollow. 3, the stem that attaches it to the vine is completely dry.
And the 4th sign, which is the most satisfying, the auditory confirmation.
That's the best part.
You can actually hear the seeds rattling inside when you shake it.
Yep. That sound means it's fully dehydrated, it's ready.
But what if you're in, say, zone 7 and a frost is suddenly coming before they're fully brown?
You cut the gourds with a few inches of stem and hang them in a warm, dry, well-ventilated area, like a garage or closet. Give them 2 to 4 weeks to finish drying.
But that drying period is non-negotiable.
It is. And if the gourd is still small and deep green, unfortunately, the sources are clear. It's not going to turn into a usable sponge.
Now for the best part, the processing. You crack that brittle outer skin.
It just peels away like thin paper.
You remove it in sheets.
Then you shake out all those loose black seeds, make sure to collect them, save them for next year.
Right.
Next, you soak that fiber network and scrub away any leftover pulp under running water until it runs completely clear. It takes a little elbow grease, but it's so rewarding.
And if you want that uniform lighter color, you can optionally soak it in a diluted solution. Maybe 1 part white vinegar to 9 parts water.
Or even diluted hydrogen peroxide. But the crucial final step is complete drying. It has to be bone dry, ideally in sunlight, before you store it, or you will get mold.
And this is where that whole commitment pays off. The yield is just phenomenal. One 12 to 18-inch loofah can be cut into 6 or 8 kitchen-sized scrubbers.
So if you get 10 to 25 gourds from one healthy vine, you're looking at potentially 60 to 200 sponges.
That's incredible.
You can use them for bath exfoliation, for non-scratch kitchen cleaning. They make excellent, eco-friendly, handmade gifts.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, loofah growing is demanding. It requires heavy feeding, specialized techniques like seed scarification, and consistent attention, especially with the pollination.
Right. But it rewards that commitment with a sustainable, massive crop that vastly outstrips the effort of growing, say, simpler vegetables.
And that's the beautiful final connection, isn't it? You are replacing those disposable plastic sponges, the ones that break down and shed microplastics, with a totally natural product that is 100% biodegradable and fully compostable at the end of its life. It's a truly sustainable replacement you grew yourself.
And this brings up a really important point about longevity and planning for the future. A properly processed, dried loofah sponge will last indefinitely in storage. We're talking 2 or 3 years.
Wow.
But those black seeds you collected from the finished gourds, they remain viable for 3 to 5 years when you store them somewhere cool and dark.
Meaning one incredibly successful season. It can actually provide you with all the resources, the know-how, the fertilizer plant, and the seeds to sustain half a decade of scrubbing.
For yourself and for everyone you know.
Something to chew on as you start planning exactly where that 15-foot trellis is going to go this year.
That's a wrap for this episode of Rave and Rant. We hope you found our insights helpful and thought-provoking. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss out on our latest reviews and tips. If you enjoyed the show, please leave us a rating and review. It really helps us reach more listeners like you. Have a topic you'd like us to cover or something you want us to rave or rant about? Connect with us on social media or visit our website to share your suggestions. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, keep exploring what's worth your time and what's not. This is Rave and Rant, where we praise the praiseworthy and roast the rest.